Hello. Good morning. I'm higher vibrations and so are you. I've never done a live event before on my own, so bear with me. I'm not really sure how this is going to work. Um, there's a lot of stuff happening right now that a lot of energies are kind of shifting in a lot of us. So there's some unstable experience for many of us right now, and I just kind of wanted to bring that to everyone's attention to know that you're not alone and it's okay. We're all going through this right now. There's several elements in play that are causing this to occur, but the most profound one that is an annual thing. In fact, I didn't actually know about it. I just knew of that time frame and on the calendar every year, is Lionsgate. Lionsgate happens on August 8th. It's also Lionsgate portal. Um, the energy is beautiful that comes in through Lionsgate, but it's impactful in a lot of ways. The main element of it is that we start to get the things in us that are unsettled, that are unhealed. They start to come up, and we start to get to see them, in the moment. We are shown what needs to be cleared away, basically. Um, and when we don't know what's happening, when all of a sudden we're noticing our self-critic is intensifying, we're harder on ourselves, and those types of things, and as well as at the same time we're having all of these memories, moments, things that were unsolved or unhealed, particularly those things that involve self-forgiveness. um, I don't know about you guys, but for me, that's always the most difficult part of healing something and clearing something out is being able to be okay, and you know those experiences as they come through. um, I didn't say yet. If you have any questions or anything like that, you please write them in the chat box. I'm happy to talk about anything that's going on right now, but um, with this Lionsgate stuff, as with these things come up, we just need to apply forgiveness to it. We just need to self-forgiveness, and it heals itself, and it doesn't need to be pulled apart and figuring out, what label is associated with that thing and that experience that we had. It's simply that it needs to be seen. It needs to be seen that it exists. So what's also really profound about Lionsgate is though the Syrian alignment that we had, the sun in the Syrian constellation or I don't know, it's not called a constellation, but anyway, um, is in alignment with our sun. And we actually had that full on alignment just happen, but the energies of it still persist for quite some time. That star in alignment with ours is 20 times brighter than our sun, Sol. And when that happens, when it lines up, it increases the loving, beautiful, healing energy that we get that comes from the sun, from our sun, and it amplifies it. Um, and the fact that it happens always at this time of year, it kind of assists that energy, the Lionsgate healing, uh, kind of an accelerated dark night of the soul experience in some ways, because what's happening, what is the dark night of the soul truly? It's the spirit, the light shining itself upon those things that have been left unseen. I see it as like a house that just has clutter, and you may go in there and clean pathways and tidy everything except for certain spaces like corners, and it just kind of gathers up in those spaces, and it creates this over encumbering experience for all of us. And so we are now in this space where we're able to, the light comes in, it shows us those things. It shows us that they exist, that they're there, and it's something to address. And that's really all it is. And being that we're in this time where there's more light coming down into us, not just through us, but in the planet and all around us, it creates this accelerated, more fertile ground for healing, I'll say. And when we clear these things out, then that light it can go and fill in those spaces. And then therefore we are at a higher frequency space. We're not so pulled back by the energies of that 3D experience, truly. Hey, welcome to Al, Ascension Symptoms. Yeah, that actually, I have a new list to bring up with that. I just got a comment from Teresa, and she shared she's a healer, and she's like, this is a more comprehensive list. Let me share this with you. And so I'll just read it really quickly. It's really well written. Brain fog, forgetfulness, crazy dreams, nightmares, and lucid dreaming, on top of all of a sudden finding that you're, in my experience, can't recall dreams that you used to recall before easily. I'm finding that being disturbed with. And then I'll remember a dream I had a week ago, like in the middle of the day. It's very bizarre. Sudden bursts of sadness, and all you can do is cry for days on end. I also have that in the version of joyful tears. Any kind of crying right now has become a really profound way of healing and clearing things out. Sudden, I read that. Confusion, forgetting words, feelings of loneliness. I'm on top of, in the middle of a sentence, I'm sure you guys noticed earlier when I was talking about Lionsgate, I was moving into I'll forget in mid-sentence right now, that's not me. And not only that, but I've always been known to have a very readily available access to the vocabulary, and have, I don't right now. I'm just fumbling to speak. Feeling of not belonging. That's definitely a starseed experience. And that's why we have these Zoom meetings, and I'm doing this live event, is the concept of just gathering people together and letting us see that we're not alone, that we're all going through these things right now. Depression and anxiety on all levels. I'm noticing that the depression or the anxiety specifically is not mine. And that's my experience. I don't know exactly what your experience might be. It feels like, well, heart palpitations are separate. Okay, we're also getting heart palpitations. That's another activation that's happening, and the anxiety feeling of like the just brief experience of like almost that impending doom feeling, kind of, but it's not real, and it's not, nothing bad's gonna happen. That's coming in. When that comes in, I can identify that personally as experiencing the collective. A lot of the stuff that's going on with the people that don't know what's going on. Like, I mean, I'd much rather be on this side of the fence. I do not envy the people that aren't aware of this awakening experience that's occurring before them. I mean, I would be bonkers. So we're feeling that a lot of times. And depression, I haven't been experiencing it, but I've tasted it. Like, you can tell it's somebody else. There's depression that needs to move through. A lot of the stuff that's coming up for us is also stuff from other time, not just our past life, not just our ancestral work at this point. We're also feeling and experiencing other people. We're experiencing these energies that were just unacknowledged, that were ignored. And all they need to do to be released is to be seen. That's it. We don't need to do anything else. So when they pop up in our head, it's disruptive, but that's all you got to do. Then you can just move on. As soon as that happens, send them with love. I see you. You existed, right? And then just release it. I'm going to finish this list before I get too off topic here, but borderline personality disorder. This is the list from the Teresa Fraser for anyone who's just entering. Chronic migraines, heart palpitations, sudden hot flashes taking over, TMJ. Because we are clenching while sleep. Yeah, that's right. That I've heard about that. The jaw tenderness, chronic migraines. I'm getting interesting headaches for sure. I wouldn't call them migraines personally. A lot of them have to do with my eyes right now, and then there's a certain spot that's shooting through to the back of my head. Sinus and ear infections, as well as popping, and you can like fluttering it's like these areas are clearing in some way. Also, a lot of throat and mouth related stuff right now, like thyroid as well. And I channeled into that, and that has to do with opening the throat chakra. So many of us have spent far too many existences being held back and not speaking our truth and being our authentic selves. Blurred vision, which is cool, by the way, that comes in and turns into a different way of seeing. It's awesome. Now seeing colors and orbs, she writes. Throat constriction, or maybe constriction or overproduction of mucus in the throat. Again, the throat chakra, dental, oral trauma is also a thing. The glands here, swelling is a big thing. Lower back pain, neck and shoulder neurological pain that can be crippling. I've also noticed that when it comes to back and neck, that usually has to do with healing some betrayal energy from our past lives. From my experience, it's something to also too. We all, as awakening beings, do really, really well with the higher chakras, but we tend to not do the best with the first three. So like, and right now, my root chakra, I'm noticing, has been vibrating almost violently. It's very interesting. It's happened before, but not in this way. And that's what's happening for a lot of us, is we're having to learn to activate and to use those bottom three chakras, because, that's those who aren't in the awakening journey and who haven't been in this experience, tend to do really well in those first three. And we're just kind of the opposite in that way. So that's just something to consider. A lot of times it's drawing our attention to that area of our body, saying that chakra needs to be addressed. So if we're having pain in certain places, it needs to be addressed, and or it's activating or coming online. Like a lot of third eye activation stuff, starting to get where there's like dots there too, like red blemishes almost, and that fade after I'm done channeling. It's kind of interesting. And then I'm just going to finish this list really quickly. Hello, everybody that's come. I'm sorry, I'm actually not on that screen, so I can't see. But neurological pain and shooting down the arms and sciatic nerve. I've noticed a lot of muscle spasm related stuff for actually a few years. It used to be the eye, and then it moved to the mouth and the ear, and like now it's like full on Charlie horse and muscle groups and stuff like that. It's really uncomfortable. Vertebra dislodging out of alignment, muscle cramping, horrible burning and itching skin, rashes, hives, hair loss. I haven't experienced a lot of, luckily, some of these anyway. I haven't noticed any hair loss either, but I have noticed my scalp has felt really alive. Painful feet, also soles of hands. That's usually to do with the activations of the hand and the feet chakras. So that's just interesting to say. So I'm back. That was a really good list. Thank you very much, Teresa, for writing that. And hello, PS. Hello, Jeffrey, Dustin, Stacy, Kelly, and Carmen. Hello. So Jeffrey says, any tips on grounding and letting go of resentments? That's a really good question. That's really a lot of what we're here to do, right? And we are the pros, but it feels like that we are limited because a lot of what's set up in front of us is designed to not make us fail. I think that now that we're in this space at this point, I'm starting to realize that it's just helping us to flex that muscle. So grounding is one of the biggest struggles I have. I always wear like some kind of grounding stone, or I tend to. What's most helpful for me is to go out into nature. If you can't go into nature, at least, find some place that you can interact with a plant. Most places, not everywhere, I realize, aren't able to access a place where they can stand barefoot. But if you can go to like a park or the dirt, the grass, it doesn't, just as long as it's nature. And especially if you can stand barefoot in that space. We have bigger pores on the soles of our feet than anywhere in our body, which is why the foot soaks are usually what people do when you're administering a herbal remedy. And so it's the same concept. when we go out and we walk barefoot on the soil, we like absorb all the minerals and awesome stuff that our body needs to kind of be in balance in that way, as well as ionizing all of the electrical charge, all the static that our body has collected that it doesn't need, and that it's not in harmony with ourselves, with our experience. And so it's really useful. If you can't do that, if you can't go into nature, in the wintertime, I'll bring in a big bucket of dirt, just good old dirt, because I have a layer of snow on the ground. And so I can't go walk barefoot. And you don't even need to like bury your feet in it, just set your feet on it. You can sprinkle some on like a cookie sheet or something like that. That really helps. It's weird, I know. 5 minutes a day with your feet, 10 minutes a day with your hands. If you can't do your feet and hands, is kind of fun to play in the dirt. You can do that too. It just takes 10 minutes instead of 5. So that's some ways that I find immediate activation. Another way, high frequency music. A lot of times I find that my grounding problem is that I'm trying to be in a physical space too much. Like I don't know. It feels counterintuitive to ground in order to be spiritual, in order to connect. And it's actually what needs to happen. And so a lot of us naturally haven't been trying to ground. We've been trying to go, right? Energetically. And I know that I speak for a handful of people anyway, just because we've talked about this. A lot of us have come here almost homesick from the beginning, like you don't belong here. There's, you want to go. And so when we're doing that, we're also moving our energy away from that. And we're doing the opposite of grounding in that experience. So that's something to just be aware of. And then also interacting with water. Water's so grounding and so beautiful. In fact, while you're interacting with water, and anyway, you could be swimming, you could be bathing, you could be washing dishes, a little bucket of water that you're just playing in. If you're saying loving things to that water, you're turning that water into holy water at that point. And now you're playing with holy water. And as we've done this a few times, we find that it starts to it's almost like it's imparting wisdom. Water's waking up. So just keep that in mind, while you're taking a bath, just kind of talk to the water with love, and it's really interesting how much comes through for that. Other ways of grounding, of course, meditation, and just bringing the light from the core of Earth. She has so much for us. Like she knows what she's doing. She is her own organism, right? And a live organism. She will, and just while in that meditative state, ask for the energy of Mother Earth to come up and just witness it in your mind's eye, coming from the heart of Mother Earth up through the soil and through your root chakra and up into your heart chakra where it can lock. And that is the first grounding element. The second part of that I always do is then I bring in the light of God down through my my crown chakra, and all the way through, through my third eye, my throat chakra, and then locking in my center at my heart chakra as well. That's a really good grounding practice, just to go into a meditative state that really assists us, and helps us to be able to reach the higher realms. It's kind of funny. It feels like counterintuitive, but it really does do a lot of good for that. Dustin says, I love you, and I love you. You guys are so strong and so important. You give me so much strength and hope. I'm so happy that you're here, Dustin. And I'm happy that we're able to be of assistance to one another. I feel strongly like a lot of us connect and we just feel familiar to each other. We know each other, and I think that's why we're so activating. It's not that we're finding each other. It's that we're realizing each other are there, and because we came in as a big team, and time is so funny how it works too. Like time is a place instead of a place being. It's really weird. So in that spiritual space, for instance, whenever we do meditations, you can go back to that same moment over and over again. You just kind of pick up where you left off. When we do planetary work, when we do stuff in the astral, it's weird. It's really cool because everybody kind of, and so we instead of going from point A to point B, we go from time A to time B, and so therefore no time has been missed. I don't know how that makes any sense, but welcome. I'm sorry, I just rambled strangely. Hi, Stacy. I'm so happy you could come. P.S. blurry vision to next to enhanced vision for me. Yeah, that is so cool. And then like you start to see some cool stuff. Like you're I you can see the love. You can actually see what love looks like. And these little like they remind me of a vein system like in a person's body, except they have like a faded colored light to them, and they tickle like someone's laughing. They're really cool. That started to happen after this new blurry vision thing started happening for me, but now it's kind of changed into like they're really cool. I want to know who they are, but I know that they're of love and they bring the vibration in any place that they're in up. And I'm pretty sure that they're always everywhere. It's just that we never really perceived them before until this upgrade has started to occur. Kelly mentioned severe nausea. Yeah, that dizziness and nausea kind of go hand in hand for me. Like I let me rephrase that. You don't know which one it's going to be. They kind of come in together, and then I kind of settle on one. But nausea for me, I've noticed more than not is when I'm considering eating. A lot of us have been talking about that. Our diet has, and first of all, most of us have noticed a change in the types of food that we eat, the frequency that we eat, and the times that we eat as well, and how we eat. So like eating with fingers more often is something that we're doing because you can actually realize your body tells you whether or not it wants it. If you make physical contact with your skin with it first, it'll tell you whether or not you want it. And nausea for me is the biggest symptom or sign of don't eat that, and like, it's not that it's bad. Exactly. It's just something that my body doesn't actually want right now. Like it's something that will be disharmonious for me in this experience at this moment, and so, and as well as just noticing that we have absolutely no appetite. Like a lot of people are doing a fasting right now. And I call that unplanned fasting. I also do intermittent fasting, which is I usually don't eat for like 16, 18 hours a day. And then I eat like an early dinner. That's just because that's when my body's hungry. I used to force myself to eat breakfast, and I hated it and it made me sick. And I did it every time because I thought I was supposed to. And then once I stopped and realized that why is it's the most important meal of the day. Well, who said that? And I stopped doing it. I started feeling better. So like, everybody's different, and but that's just fascinating. There's a lot of stomach related stuff. A lot of people are having navel chakra activation, which that's not very pleasant, but it's not incredibly bad. It feels like almost a static electricity kind of shock on your belly button. And I've also had it where I'll notice it right there, right in the I don't know, the V of your neck, like I feel it enter there, and then it's like out through the belly button. There's some type of chakra activation occurring there. A lot of people are having that. And then PS says, and I see others seeing things they cannot grasp too. Yeah, that's actually pretty fun. I'm really enjoying having that experience. Like you feel like, I don't know if parent's not the right word, but you watch somebody growing up, and like doing the thing, like everybody's, no one wants to say anything to disturb the child, but hey, look, they're riding without training wheels. Oh, look, and looking over the corner. It feels like that with watching a lot of these people. At the same time, a lot of them, I've stopped holding back. And it's what I need to do for my own experience. And I'm not suggesting anyone do what, follow your own intuition and guidance. And I bring that up to say that I've watched that happen. And there's people who are really disturbed. Like they look very upset by seeing these things. And, I'll reassure them, and by telling my own story only in a very, soft way, a watered down version, perhaps leaving out some of the bigger parts, just to like lay that seed, plant that seed. And it does seem to work. I don't know. So, do what it is that you need to do, but it is interesting and fun and cool to see how many people are waking up. Like right now is a significant awakening year. By the way, out of curiosity, what years did you all have your first awakening? My first awakening was 1983. I had a near-death experience as a child. However, I've noticed multiple awakenings like throughout the years. There are some very significant years that have occurred. 1999 was a very significant year for a lot of. 89 was also significant, or that was profound. Then we also had 2020, 2007, 2012, 2020, 2021, 2022. Like 2021, Al says that's awesome. Like those are like some really powerful years, and we're in another really powerful year now. And it's not just that we have one awakening. I don't think either. I've noticed the phases. All of those years I'd mentioned, I had that another like push up kind of experience. The past 2 years has been nonstop. It's been really, since 2017, I guess. But Jeffrey's 2007. That's awesome. That's so cool. And Carmen, hi, nice to see you. Hello, Delia. Thank you for coming. Stacy, not weird, makes perfect sense. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, indoor grounding, Stacy. It's so useful, and like, there's a lot of us who can't. Really do it. Like go out into nature, and it might be a seasonal thing, and it might simply be where we live. Guardian has told me that when he lived in the city, he would use the wind. Connecting with the element of wind is a grounding thing that you can do. And I do find it to be also grounding. It really kind of brings, but it's hard to, it seems like it is more difficult to kind of control when you need it, to make sure it's there for you. However, you can call it one fun game. And I've been doing this with kiddos just to kind of empower them, to show them, because that's really what the energy is right now, right? We're in Lionsgate. It's about bringing in the empowerment and showing you that you are powerful, and taking away, pardon me, that element that we have all kind of confused ourselves into believing, that we are small, that we are not powerful, that we are insignificant. In fact, we are a nuisance, and we cause issues, and we cause disruption and inconvenience to others and all that crap. And that stuff is clearing out for us right now. And so a fun trick to just show the power, show your power, to prove to yourself what it is. Find a cloud in the sky. It doesn't, start small and focus on that cloud being sent apart, like just kind of disapparate, slowly fade away and break apart. And you can pick any cloud, especially when there's a lot of clouds available, because every time you pick another cloud, it's that cloud. There's no way of logically explaining that away. That you have done that because all the other clouds are fully intact. It's kind of something that's useful, and just reminding yourself and whoever that you are powerful. And it's funny, it seems silly, but by doing that, so many things open up after that. So it's something interesting to try. I don't know where I left off. Jeffrey says, I listened to some music that sounded like robots tinkling, water sounds too. It's very helpful. That's awesome. I'll do the cricket thing, cricket. Yeah, I didn't actually think about that because I have crickets here all the time, and it's just something you tune into. Frogs, just a really grounding, listening to what's in front of you. Go outside or open your window and just pick a sound. Inside as well. I just find the outside just kind of pulls me someplace. But yeah, and then just listen to one sound at a time. Just pull it apart, and that is so grounding. It's really helpful. PS says, thinking strange about time is mine too. Yeah, it's like time is really broken up right now. It's so hard to explain it because time is such a unrealistic, it's not real. It's not real. Like in every other experience I've ever honed into or remembered or gone to, it's like time looks more like an orb. It's just a sphere of energy kind of, and you're like in the middle, and you can touch any point at any time that you'd like at any, and then that time is destination versus a place, because once you're in a time, you're in all place of that time, because we are energy and we are this beautiful energy love, and we touch everything. We can do it with intention, or we can do it subconsciously. We have a 50-foot radius of just our immediate sucked in energy, when you're just like doing your regular everyday thing. But we can push that energy out so that it encompasses the planet and beyond. Like we are infinite. It's amazing. Most often, PS says, most often while waking up in the morning, eyes still shut. That's really interesting. Yeah. And noticing that you're asleep, right? Is that what you mean? Because I've been doing that too. It's really fun. It's like you are in astral form. You're having an astral experience, but you're in your body. And it's like just before it's time to wake up, and kind of witnessing your heavy breathing, witnessing the heaviness of your body as it sleeps, but you're there. It's really, I never did that before. Usually when I was in astral, I was like, boo, I'm out of here. Let's go someplace. It's been kind of interesting and fun to experience. Stacy says, I am so glad to be here. It's really nice to be part of a growing knowing. I'm really happy that you have found us too, Stacy. It's been really fun doing these Zoom meetings and connecting with so many people. If you are inclined and feel the desire, we are having a Zoom meeting today, and an hour, 2.5 hours at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So yeah, I'm doing it backwards, an hour and a half. Or yeah, 2.5 hours. Anyway, it's free, and you don't have to have your camera on. You don't have to talk. Some people have come for a while, weekly, and just typed, and that's fun too. It's just a way to kind of connect and just listen, to hear other people talk. We're all on this awakening journey. We all are going through the same experiences you are, and it's fun because so many of these things we don't even realize are part of this awakening experience. Like so many things, still so many things that I don't realize, because it's just something that, I don't know, I normalized along the way, or I explained away, or just thought that was something weird about myself, that it wasn't that big of a deal. So it didn't affect me enough to really look into it. And then you hear all these other people talking about the same exact thing, the same thing that you're going through. And that's really all I need. I just got validation. But then there's usually also people saying, hey, and I found ways around it. Here's my solutions, and ways to make it easier, and something else too that's really cool is all of us are on this awakening experience, and we're getting more and more gifts. Like, let me rephrase that. Our psychic gifts are becoming more powerful, and they're coming online more in a way that's more accessible to us. Where before it used to kind of feel like it came out of nowhere and hit you, where all of a sudden you're channeling, or all of a sudden you're healing, and you didn't really know how that happened. Now people are a little bit more and more realizing how to use it with intention and with a time desired, that we're kind of practicing with each other. And what I mean by that is, like, someone comes in, someone has something going on, there's people channeling, there's dream interpretation, there's light language, we're doing group healings, and like all it just comes. Like there's been a few different times where someone had something and they brought it to the table in one of those Zoom meetings, and like everyone converged in this perfect synchronized orchestra of love, and it was beautiful, and it's just fun. So, and that's how I know Stacy and a lot of you actually. But if you feel inclined, please join us. We have them 3 times a week. And then Stacy, I don't like to eat breakfast either. I don't really know a lot of people who do. I don't, it's such a strange idea. And breakfast technically is breaking your fast. So whenever you first eat, that's breakfast. So, And Jeffrey says the body doesn't want more food, but the mind has a hunger deep inside. Yeah, it's almost like there's a consumption. Like I've noticed the consumption energy for a while, and I haven't really known what to do with that. Like there's, it consumes. Like what? I don't want anything, and it just, I don't know. And I think that, like you said, it's like, and we're clearing that out. If we don't know something exists, there's no way to clear it. I mean, there's no reason to. There's no reason to take the time and effort to illuminate that. And that's what Lionsgate energy is all about. It's illuminating all of this stuff that needs to be healed and to be looked at and to move on, to move through. Something that I need to point out is Lionsgate energy is so much more intense this year. I'm already feeling the intensity that I tend to do on August 8th, on the 8/8 portal. And I'm already feeling the intensity that normally happens from that. So, just a heads up for anyone else who's going through that you're not crazy, where a lot of us are going through it. And we have so many different alignments. We got solar flares and Schumann resonance. It's spiking and spiking and spiking the Schumann resonance and then going offline, and that's the energy that's being brought up from the core of the planet and sent to us. And then all these crazy solar flares are coming down on us that are already incredibly intense. But then we got the Syrian sun. Remember, it's 20 times brighter than our sun, and it amplifies our sun by that much. So the energy that would be coming from it is now amplified times 20. So we're getting these crazy solar flares that are being amplified to us. And we also have the Lionsgate, and the Lionsgate and the Syrian energy always mixes every year and creates this perfect fertile ground for healing. However, it's just more intense this year. It's not going to be disruptive. I don't believe it feels like it's like, yay, here you go. Here's your present. And you're like, you shouldn't have, but it's really cool. It's good stuff. It's really here to help us out. So just keep that in mind. So Al says that his awakening was in 2021, Jeffrey 2007, and then also 1979. Stacy, that's really cool. I'm actually gonna go through the years really quick. That's really cool. 1979 and 2007. That actually makes a lot of sense. I've had a lot of those where there's been a couple of years. Kelly 2012. Wow, that year of awakening was really fun to witness and be a part of. Like that excited, crazy energy and the Mayan calendar stuff made it even May. Yeah. And PS says maybe 6 years ago. Awesome. That's really cool. Oh yeah, Stacy, I've also had multiple, I don't remember the years though. Yeah. Like I've only started trying to remember that because people ask in my life now, the past couple of years since I started doing YouTube and stuff. It's funny. I never really thought about and that bothered me. That kind of gave me a little anxiety when people would ask, because there are so many phases of it. There's so many points. And then in my teens, I did this whole, I'm going to turn it all off. And too many people were trying to get me to get messages from their dead loved ones. And as a teenager, that was just not something that I was able to really be available for so many strangers for. And so I just kind of said, no, I'm done. And I'm going to blend in and turn everything off. And I did okay at turning stuff off. But each one of those dates years that I mentioned was another one of those okay, wake up. Okay, wake up. And just more and more profound every year after. 2013, 2014 was a really big year for window of time for me also. But that was due to a life experience. When people get pregnant, they tend to have a lot of crazy stuff. So anybody pregnant during this awakening push right now, it's going to be an interesting thing to hear the reports of that. And all of the lockdown babies are being born and bringing in new energy. They're all coming in with already activated DNA. We talk about the junk DNA, right? The science has been telling us forever, a long time, as long as I know, that 90 to 95% of your DNA is garbage. It's called junk. And who knows? They just put it there on accident, and you don't even worry about that stuff. And then all of a sudden, these things, this 95% of us started to come online, started to become available. We started accessing these things in an intuitive way before we even realized what was occurring. And now and then each year, babies are born with more and more and more DNA already activated. And so when we have a stream of a large increase or large flux of new souls being born, they're bringing in all of that light, all of that wisdom, and all of that grounding and stability of the light into the planet that we're on. And so as they come in, it's just changing the experience of everyone. It's so beautiful. It's really cool. Karma says, I lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks because of my heavy ascension symptoms. I didn't like to eat either. That was like 6 months ago. Yeah, that was every time that we go through. I do that too. And I don't like it, that because I go through this massive weight loss, and then like something happens, and all of a sudden that consume thing happens, and that I find that my body just needs to eat, and I try to do what it wants, but this back and forth and weight thing is kind of starting to get me, kind of drive me crazy. But Remnock, exactly, Jeffrey. The mind is searching for a solution and nourishment. Right, exactly. Our mind knows that it's out there. It's just trying to pull it out and bring it to us. Jeffrey, you know it. P.S. The more I drop expectations, the more I see. Right. Oh, yeah. And I think someone brought up resentments. I didn't finish answering a question from Jeffrey, I think. Something else about that, too. It's because expectations to me and resentments are kind of like hand in hand. I found the experience of like holding on to stuff and like chewing on. So a resentment is basically something that we're not okay with in some way. We're putting judgment on something that had occurred, right? And that judgment is kind of set up to happen if we have an expectation of an event. It's I've heard it called the premeditated resentment. One of my friends used to say that all the time, and I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense, and how do we drop the resentments? Self-forgiveness. Honestly, that seems like it's a cookie cut, everybody's a fix all, one size fix all kind of situation, but it really is in a lot of ways. It doesn't heal everything, but the vast majority of what needs to be healed is being blocked by lack of self-forgiveness. 100%. Like, it's crazy. I had no idea how much, and then not even realizing when you're full of things, problems, shame, that guilt, that stuff that occupies your mind and takes over your moments, like it colors everything that you get to experience. It takes away from it. It's like trying to have a glass of water, but you didn't rinse out your orange juice glass. It's just gross, and like it ruins the experiences because it's flavoring everything that you do. And so, one of my biggest suggestions is if you are into doing guided meditation, there's the Reality Revolution with Brian Scott. There's a specific, just look up Brian Scott reality, look at Brian Scott forgiveness meditation. That meditation is like 20 minutes long. It's a guided meditation. And the first half of it is addressing forgiveness of other people and other things and things like that. It's really well done. But the last part is about self. That actually caught me off guard. I did that meditation. I cried for like 3 hours, like full on weeping, snot bubbles, I was just released, and I actually went back and did it again recently because it's just done really well, at least for my experience. And so if that doesn't resonate with you, something different, just remember that is really the biggest thing that's coming through right now. And that's every one of these issues that we've talked about. Self-forgiveness will really cover a lot of it. Any kind of gentle predictions for the end of the year? Jeffrey says that there is some stuff that's swelling up that is going to happen. Just that needs to know. All we need to know about it is that as these things come through, you're safe. Okay, you're safe. And the experience that you're in right now is separate from those around you. And I believe the hardest thing that that we're going to have to kind of experience or endure at this time is knowing that you can't make anyone wake up. You can't make anyone okay. You can't convince anyone a truth that is not theirs at this moment, right? And so in order to try to change someone's mind, we're often chasing them away. For if someone is not ready, there is not a single thing that you can say that is right. But if they're ready and they're already starting on this awakening journey, there's nothing that you can say that's wrong, really. You know, we all have discernment. Spiritual discernment is like one of our most awesome superhero tools, is that we can tell what's true and what's not, what works for you and what doesn't. You know, it's not just that we're an amazing lie detector, but we can tell what resonance applies to our experience. You know, and just to utilize that and in this experience. So as these denser energies are shifting through, there's always a tantrum on the way to bedtime. You know, the toddler doesn't want to go to bed, and so there's probably going to be some experiences in the next couple of months, you know, and it's going to be okay. Just enjoy your Halloween and know that the experience that you're in is what you're choosing. We choose our own realities. We are making the experience before us. So that was kind of a weird answer, but I'm so excited. Lionsgate. Yeah, Stacy. It's really cool. It's really a healing place. Al says, any Mandela effects from CERN? Yeah, I haven't really investigated all that stuff that's going on over there. I haven't been compelled to. Not that I'm not letting that be part of my experience. It's just, it feels like the frat kids that are just out, you know, creating something that's going to blow up in a minute. And not that that's going to happen with this, but it's definitely something that's changing the frequency for some people. And so I don't know. Let's see what happens. The Mandela effect's kind of fun. The Mandela effect is that a lot of people remember certain things one way, and then it turns out it's the other way. And it's a really interesting point that it's likely that it's the timeline shift. You know, it's a glitch in the matrix, seeing the cat meow twice. You know, kind of a thing. It's kind of fun to look up Mandela effects. P.S. says the trick with predictions is we have to predict by ourselves because every single one is part creator. Exactly. You know, and honestly, I don't think that dates really work for anybody because time is so hard, because all of the free will, it looks like dominoes when you ask about it. Like the image that's given is like you still see this whole field of dominoes and they're all standing, you know, and it's like, if you want that one to go, then they all have to go in a perfect order or whatever, you know. And so like we know what the result is going to be, but to know when it's going to occur. And not only that, but time is misunderstood here versus everywhere else. So because it's kind of a broken creation. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say your name right. I hope I will. Bernsenia. Sorry, I probably slaughtered that. Ringing in ears as an ascension symptom. My ears have been ringing for 50 years. Can you explain why? That's a really great question. Ringing in the ears. So at first it feels just really disruptive for me. Like I didn't know what was going on, and it just was interrupting my life and my frequency. Like it would make what I was going through less enjoyable, and you couldn't hear. And the other ear a lot of the times is also underwater ear. So you're like hearing underwater kind of hearing. It's really annoying. But that was about it. It would cause disruption, but I knew it was significant. I could feel like through it. I just didn't know what was occurring. Anyway, fast forward a bit. I started to listen to the frequency as it was coming in. I started to like pay attention to it. And there's a melodic element to it. It's not just a ring. There are several octaves occurring at the same time, creating a message. And so I found that if I try to listen to the ringing, if I listen to it, knowing that it's light codes, it's a message, it's information, it's some type of a download that's coming in, then I'll breathe into it. And I find myself like I just go into a meditative state almost immediately, but with my hands up, like I have my palms faced, like I'm receiving the energy that's coming. Because usually when my ears are ringing there, I'm also getting a solar flare or some kind of other energy at the same time. And then all of a sudden, this information comes in. You feel it, like you could see the light of it. And you can feel the love of that light as it comes through. Every time that I've done that, I've come back out of the meditation as a different person, slightly, noticeably, but slightly. And every time that I have received the message or the codes as they've come in, then it's changed in its experience where it's more enjoyable. It's more beautiful. I'm starting to hear this similar. So now it sounds more like music. It's not ringing. It starts as ringing until I listen. But other than that, it's no longer ringing anymore. It's a ringing until I answer the phone, basically. And that same beautiful, it sounds like what I've seen people try to replicate as angels singing using choir and piano, basically. It's beautiful. And that same sound comes from the rays of the setting sun. It's really cool. I had no idea that would happen. And as that's happening, where it's also activating our DNA. It's turning all these things online that have been turned off for a while. They've not been gone. They've just been sleeping. It's just been dormant, hibernation. Just think about that. Only 5% of you has been walking around this whole time. The rest of you has been asleep. That's a lot of stuff that needs to slowly come on. And that's why it's happening gradually for us. That's why it feels disruptive. It feels like it's unpleasant, but it's coming in as slow as it can. If it is too much for you, however, I have found that you can ask. You can ask to have it turned down. I've done it with where I've asked, and then while I'm asking, usually I reach out to Archangel Michael. That's just my kind of go-to person. And like several other archangels, but always him, just kind of a thing. But as I bring that in, then I also visualize a knob, like on an old school, like radio, and I turn down the volume. Maybe it's on 10, I'll turn it to 5 or whatever. So it's more manageable because you don't have to be completely uncomfortable in this experience. If it's too much for you, you can ask. You just got to say it. And also that's true for anything, by the way. These angels, our guides, our higher self, God himself, all of these energies are here connected to you and want to be of assistance to you. That's what they really want. Like that's what they want. But they can't unless you ask because of the law of free will. If you don't ask, they can't participate. They can't step in and help you. However, well, they can in extreme circumstances, apparently. So I don't really know. That kind of always irritates me when there's a rule and then but anyway. However, when you ask, they all show up. Like they're happy to come. And you're not putting them out. I said, I was always worried, I don't want to inconvenience anybody. It's just me. I'm fine. I can handle it. No, please ask. Ask for help. That's why they're there. They want to, and so let me answer some more questions before let's see. Also, Remnock, does the ringing change frequency or intensity at times? Yeah. And do you feel it flicking or clicking in your ears sometimes? Oh yeah, for sure. Like, that was something we were talking about earlier about it's sinuses. People talk about sinuses where it's your fluttering. I call it fluttering and clicking. It's like, I notice it, like, it seems like it's on my jawline, but not in my jaw. It just seems like it's in front of my ear within my head. I don't know. And that usually is occurring around the time that I'm getting ringing or like right before, during, or after. It's always related to it though. And the frequency intensity changing. Again, listen to it. I that's something that's interesting about all these experiences. The things that we tend to like pull away from as they come into our experience are the things that we really need. And as we pull away from it, we're kind of like prolonging the experience that's maybe not entirely pleasant. And then when we lean into it, then it just goes away. For instance, emotional disturbance. I've noticed from my experience, whenever I would feel sad, I would always try to like, no, I don't want to feel sad, and like, and then I have learned that I need to lean into that pain, allow that to be fully experienced instead of ignoring it and shoving it away. Because if we experience it, then it can be done and it can move on, but if we push it away, whether we feel most of it, if we push some of it away and ignore parts of it, that part is now imprisoned and stuck here in this experience, in this space, until it is witnessed and acknowledged without judgment and released with love. So just as those things come through, just know that it's not meant to cause you disruption. It's not meant to cause you any kind of disharmony. It's just asking you to help it. And so sometimes today it's been very loud. Yeah, I had my morning this morning. I woke up with my ear ringing. Just one of them. The other one was the underwater ear, and then it switched, and it was really annoying because I was sleeping. I was excited because I had a day I could sleep in, and I didn't get to. But it almost always is related when it's so intense. I don't know if it's related or it's just whatever, it happens together because of the energies are coming in, they're helping us, but there's usually solar activity happening at the same time. So perhaps we're hearing the rays of the sun, I'm just like you do with the setting sun, I guess. I don't even know, but that makes sense. So Ramnak, forgiveness is such an important part, but I've also heard that the negative ETs are involved. We need to not be forgiving and demand they leave by force. Well, yeah, and what I'm asking is to consider self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness is really what the main problem is. And yeah, forgiveness doesn't mean that I'm okay with what you're doing too. You know what I mean? Like I forgive you. Don't come back here again. It can work. You know what I mean? It's more and more I'm realizing that these other energies are more like an annoying little brother, and you don't have to participate, you don't have to encourage, but send love to it. Send love to it, not because you want it to stay, just simply because it's part of the all, as we are. We're one large thriving massive organism, just like the rainforest, so just something to consider. P.S. Light a candle and speak out your dreams out loud. The flame is going to send it to the universe. Beautiful. Love that. Yeah, the ringing may be related to Ascension, but it's hard to know for sure because tendinitis is also caused naturally with nervous system issues. If it varies a lot, then it may be Ascension. That's an interesting point. Is a lot of these Ascension symptoms can't have another explanation for them, which makes it even harder for a lot of us initially to figure out what's going on with us, like until time and time again, the doctors are like, wow, you're the most healthy that you've been your entire life. Why are you here? Thinking that I'm like looking for medication or something like that when I won't fill any prescriptions that I'm ever given usually for me. And that's my choice. But it's, time and time again. And finally you find out other people are going through the same things that you are. That, you can explain away a lot of the stuff that's happening, but all in together, there's no way to ignore it for me, in my experience. Mandolin, your higher aspect has all the answers. Yes. And that is really an important point. We are connected. You do not need an intermediary. There's no someone channeling is useful. However, you are a channel yourself. Someone accessing the answers for you is useful. However, they're being given to this individual based on their experience and their vocabulary. my vocabulary and how I process visual and other kind of experiences are going to be different than everyone else, and so, and you are powerful, you are able, you are more than capable, you are the purest of love, and you chose to come here. And out of all the people, all of the energies that raised their hand and volunteer, you were picked because you can do this. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. I didn't know if anyone would join. And Madeline says, I no longer have ascension symptoms. I recognize the energy and tone appropriately to utilize it. That's awesome. That's really cool. That's the ultimate goal, and that's where we're all headed. Like I know I've known for this whole time, we all have. This is a temporary experience. It's that place somewhere between learning to ride a bike and taking the training wheels off. Everyone's in a different space right now, and just trust your own experience and know that you got this. You are powerful. You are empowered. You are love. Thank you all so much for coming today. And thank you for all your participation. This was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this, let me know, and I'll do this again sometime. That's evolution. Treat to catch you. Oh yeah, it's thank you so much. It's a treat to catch me live. It's so cool to see you, Mandolin. I've missed you, sister. We're having a Zoom event in 2 hours. If anyone wants to join us, and you can find that link in my section, on my YouTube channel. It's free. You don't have to come, but you're welcome to. Usually it lasts about 2 hours. I'm sending you all so much love. Thank you so much for your service and for being on this journey with us. I love you so much. Thank you.